Yeah.
Guys, welcome back. Another episode, Panels and Frames. Week 6. 6 in a row. Look at us. Impressed.
Stuff.
Yay us.
Right? I mean,
Now, let me ask you something, T.
oh boy. Here we
Because
go.
I note that Tim hasn't watched yet, but are the Jedi the most inept, weakest force in the galaxy at the time of this portion of Star Wars, or what?
It's, you know, so we finally got a lightsaber battle, which I've been dying for, which, I mean, it's so funny. If you spend 5 minutes on Twitter or even going through YouTube's, you have half the people that are like, oh my God, that was the greatest fight since the prequels. And then you have the other half of the people that are like, that was such bullshit. It was just a bunch of people with glow sticks behind trees that you couldn't see anything of. And the fan base is so split on everything. Like, some people are so impressed with, you know, the fighting style and what happened in it, and some of the things being put into canon, and Jackie being able to do, or Jakai, or however you want to pronounce her name, being able to wield two lightsabers at once. But a week ago she was like using a stick in the Padawan class, and like, how did she learn to do that? I don't want to shit on too many things. There's enough things you can shit on in the show, between the writing, the acting with the lead character, I think is horrendous. There's a lot of bad in it, but there's also some good, and there's some fun.
I walked away satisfied from this episode. I walked away and was like, okay, it's worth watching the next episode.
I think at this point you're in for the rest of the season, right? Like, I have to know what the hell is going to happen with this whole thing. And the showrunner did say that she wrote this season as a 1-season thing, not knowing if it would get picked up. So there is a conclusion.
Probably smart.
So and she says if there's a season 2, she has like 5 mystery things she wants to bring into next season, but we can get it out like when that happens. But at least I'm hoping this season has a decent conclusion to it after the time we've invested in it. But I will say, you know, having the Jarkai, or whatever you want to call it, the dual weapon fighting in it with both him and, as I mentioned before, what's her name? However you want to pronounce it, Jakai, having her yield it, and then having the Sith guy do it as well. They call him Darth Gimp, which I think is hilarious on Twitter and stuff. But
dude, he looked like Venom. I thought it was Venom.
Yeah, it kind of does look like Venom. I mean, it was a little bit of a surprise. Like, we kind of narrowed it down. Even last week we talked about who it could be. It was either going to be him or the witch, the mother witch that we didn't see die, the one that wasn't dead, the one that carried them. But then as soon as you saw him kind of in this episode with his sleeves off and the arms, I immediately said to Alex, I was like, it's the dude. Like, I was hoping it was going to be the witch, but it's the dude. You could just tell by the arms. Like, those were definitely male arms, not to be sexist, but those were definitely like guy arms and not female arms. So you kind of knew. But I thought it was really, you know, some of the things were kind of cool. The fact that he had the cortosis blade, or however you say it, cortosis, I guess, the helmet that would, like, you know, could deflect the lightsaber and break them and turn them off and shit, was really cool. His mask was a little, he had the one eye slit, so he's obviously, I think he's just using the force inside of it to fight. I mean, he was pretty much blind with that mask on. And what's her name, Jackie, had a sweet move to knock it off, which was cool. They did do like the Tricata, which, you know, the lightsaber ability to turn it on and off. So there's a lot of things that were from like legends and stuff that they kind of brought into this to use as canon, which I thought was kind of cool. The Shoto style, which we've seen with what's her name from the last series, has, you know, her shorter blade. Ahsoka has that shorter blade. This one also had that in his dual lightsaber. Was pretty dope. The fact that it was like inside the other one that he pulled out, instead of like being, you know, like Darth Maul's, where it was like that other way, was kind of cool. I don't know. There was a lot to like in it, or at least, like, if you're a big fan of sort of the canon and all that stuff, there was a lot of stuff they introduced showed that was cool to see. But again, there was like, you know, he's this badass guy and he gets carried off by insects and then like comes back. And then,
what do you think of the Parent Trap part?
I hate it. That hate it. That's what we talked about, the writing and everything. I can't believe they've gone that route now. And like, it's
such a cop out. It really is
one of the worst scenes ever too, with a lightsaber. The fact that she gave herself a haircut with it, like she puts over like,
yeah.
You're like, oh god, what just happened here? And then I'm hoping that Soul either knows it's her and is playing along with it, or is in on it, or something, because there's no way he couldn't feel the difference between the two of them and know that that's
Right.
not her. And the way he asked, he said, well, where is she? And not like, where is May? Or, like he didn't use the name, he just said, where is she? And then she's like, oh, she's gone or whatever. She ran away. He's like, okay, let's go. And he can't see the marking on her head. Like she has the giant tattoo on her head. So I don't know. How could he not know it's her? So I'm hoping the next episode answers some of those like cliffhanger where you're like, what the fuck? Like obviously questions. Also, they just kind of left all the bodies on the planet, which I thought was kind of weird. He didn't want to, at least, especially his Padawan.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Her back. I will say that the deaths were a little shocking. Like, they had 8 people in there, and you knew like the red shirt ones were going to die, like, so to speak, the ones that you've never seen anything before. But the fact that they killed the other 2 was like shocking to me, like brutally shocking, I thought. And even when he had this lightsaber to what's her name's head, I was kind of like, well, he can't kill her because of the twin, but it's still a little intense after what you've just seen him do. And you're like, maybe they could do it. Like, that'd be really shocking. So I was kind of surprised at the way he just mowed down all the Jedis. Like he just like destroyed them all. Like, holy shit. So I don't know. It was pretty interesting to dissect, and I watched it a couple of times just to try and get everything that happened in the. I mean, it was for 30 minutes. It was a pretty intense 30 minutes of like going through shit. But to your point, Kev, there's, we've talked about the writing, how atrocious it is in places. We've talked about the Parent Trap move at the end is just like, I just feel like they have this story that's decent, but it's got like a wet blanket over it, like it just can't find its like,
it doesn't know what it is. I don't
exactly. It keeps bouncing around and like has so many things that you're like, well, okay, that was really cool, but then it led into like this, and how is that even possible, type thing. So I don't know. Like I said, hopefully it wraps up. We got 3 left now. Hopefully these next 3, the pace we're going. I will say the pace that's picked up over the last one and the one before this last one has been nice to see. So things have started to really move after those first 3, and hopefully there's more surprises, more shocks in it, more. I don't know. I read a bunch of interviews with the cast that, the 2 that died plus the guy who was revealed to be the Sith, and they said what's coming is pretty surprising, and like it kind of takes a new turn in the Act 3 now that we're going into Act 3, sort of really is different than the first 2 acts. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. Yeah, and I still don't know if he's really a Sith, because he said the Jedi would call me a Sith. I still think, I'm hoping that it ties into like the Knights of Ren, or there's something else in there that sort of, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it all comes together, because again, in the prequels, they said the Sith haven't been around for however many years, yet this guy's here. So we'll see what happens. I hope
the Sith weren't around because the Jedi didn't know the Sith were there, and the Jedi.
And that's the thing. So does Soul die before he gets back to tell them? Because he obviously knows. So if he doesn't get back to tell them, all the other people are dead that saw him. And he says,
or it's the politics where they're just like, all right, the Sith exists, let's shut it up and we're not
cover it up. Right, they cover it up and say we don't want people to know it. So there's that. But he did say anybody who sees me dies, type thing. So he's like on this mission to. But they still haven't explained why he's killing those 4 people that were on that planet. He still hasn't explained like what his vengeance is for that, and like what the whole deal is. Like where did he even come from? Where is he from? And then like how did May and Osha, like their relationship and survive? And the annoying thing was, again, last episode, May was like, I'm going to go turn myself in. And then this episode, she was like, I'm not turning myself in. I'm running away from them. And then like, she decides to like, she's all over the map. Like one minute she's like, I love you. We need to be together. And then she's like, never mind. I'm going to pretend to be you. And like, it's, I don't know. Again,
we'll see what happens next.
Hopefully it all makes sense and comes together. And then you're like, oh, that's why they did that. But I don't hold out super high hopes for that. But again,
this was the short segment.
It's good, and like I said, there's plenty online that you can go and read and watch and see people like tear it apart, or actually
you should be tweeting this kind of stuff. out of the
Why?
Panels and Frames account.
I know. There's so much like I don't want to. First of all, like, I mean, anytime you tweet it, like watching some of these people just get fucking harassed online is so brutal. Like,
hey, harassment is where the big money is.
it is
Yeah, they
crazy. And I
want
mean, we don't
that,
have a
dude.
blue
They're
check mark.
engagement farming.
We don't have a blue check mark, so we're not trying to get like money out of it and stuff. And
don't have
some
a
of these
blue
guys
check
with
mark.
them, you can tell are like baiting people and trying to get those conversations, and it does work. I mean, you say one good thing and you get 10 bad comments about why that good thing is stupid, or you say one bad
my
thing.
poor kid with House of the Dragon, she tweets and people are mean to her, and she's like, I'm like, just mute them, block them.
It's so
You
brutal
know?
though. Like, I mean, the negativity I'm not as into, like, but the people that tweet something positive are like, oh, this was so cool to see. And then the people are like, what are you talking about? This was
That's
the
the
worst
worst
thing
thing
ever. Blah, blah, and you're like, oh my God. Like, geez.
I don't
people.
understand that shit. Like, I'm not saying everybody has to like everything. Actually, I think that's stupid. Like, I hate the people that you see that with like music. They like stan a band or like every song's fucking great. Like,
Mercy
no,
is a great song.
Right,
Revolver
right.
is the
Well,
best
it's like,
thing
yeah,
ever.
every goose show there's a Johnny. Like, you're always like, oh, this is the jam of the year. This is the greatest song ever of this year. And then the next show, oh, this is the jam of the yeah, that
right.
shit
But
gets
at the
old.
same time, the people that cut down the people that do enjoy it, like, what the fuck? Like, that's like crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can shit. I don't care if you go online and shit on something. Like, that's fine. But like, if I like it, why are you gonna cut me down?
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't come in my space and shit on it. Go shit
and
on
like,
it
what
over in
is
your
it's
space.
all relative too. Like, maybe we're looking for different things. Like, maybe you fucking want everything to be Lucas canon from the 70s and don't like anything expanded. And maybe I just like fucking cool visual effects and like space wizards, right? And it's fine. Like, I get that
Back
you
to
don't
the
like it.
Space
That's all
Wizards.
right.
Back
Well,
to
like
the
the
Space
guy,
Wizard.
there was one guy that was like, that was the best choreographed lightsaber scene since, the prequels. And man, he
Prequels
just
had
got
such good
destroyed. People were
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? Like this and that. And I mean, we haven't seen, like, I've been starving for a cool lightsaber battle. So it was kind of fun to see that there was a good
Was
portion
it
of that
good?
episode that
Who
has
ended up with the Wookiee's lightsaber?
Well,
You guys are giving all. I'm not even gonna watch this shit now.
you need to watch it just to see what happens, because there's a lot that goes down in that.
A
But
lot of spoilers here without any warning.
Jackie, the girl, like, and
Okay,
she
right,
was
right.
so good. Like, she's the girl from Logan who played, what the X whatever character in Logan.
X13 or
Yeah,
31 or whatever.
was
She's
that.
awesome.
She was so good in this. It's such a shame that she had to go. And she even said,
Spoiler alert.
well, I mean, yeah, Tim, sorry, and everybody that's
I
watching
don't
it hasn't
care.
seen it. But she even said in her interview that came out right after the episode on the E-Weekly thing this week that she was like, one of the things that I signed up for was, she told me right away, you're going to die awfully early and it's going to be a cool death, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I'm in. Like, I definitely want to do that. Like, cool. But then the way she died too, people were all pissed off because she gets, there's a couple of them that get impaled with a lightsaber, and in Ahsoka, it didn't matter because like it cauterized the wound right away, right? So they didn't die. And in this one, everyone's like, oh, now all of a sudden you get impaled by a lightsaber and it kills you again. So again, there's just like these ups and downs that you're constantly.
Maybe all
like,
those Jedis are alive.
that's it. No, there's no way. I'd be so furious if that happened. If they pulled the rug out that way, that's worse than the Parent Trap move they did at the end. Like, come on.
Do
But
you guys like that level of like hyper critique and shit? Because like, on one hand, like my nerdism's like I look really in detail for like Easter eggs and shit, but like none of the stories, none of the comics, none of the books, none of the movies have I ever been that obsessed about inconsistencies. Like, fucking, it's Star Wars. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't want to shit on people. I just like, if you're gonna do it for enjoyment, I'm all about it, right? Like for Easter eggs and shit. But like,
Maybe that's part of the enjoyment for these people.
is shitting on it.
I think that thing is they enjoy it so much that they've read every novel, they've read everything, even the stuff that's
Right
not
now,
like,
there's like an ownership and like
right.
Yeah.
And they're like, the casual fans suck because they don't understand this and why this is happening. And then to them also, it's like, well, we know what this is and why this should be this way, and you don't. And it's kind of bullshit. And it's just, I don't know. It's insanity. Like, it really is. It's hard
They should be stewards of it though, right? Like, if you're gonna do it, like, don't do it in like a toxic, cut you down kind of way. Do it in like a expand. You know what I mean? Like, I think about it with like other communities. Like, you want to like teach them and explain why why you feel this way about this thing, and not just like shit on people. I feel like that's the problem with the Star Wars
I
fan
think
base.
that's what I was gonna say to your point about like when people attack other people or attack you for liking something. Is it's like why don't you come in and educate and be like, oh well, instead like I know you like this, but if you read this section of this, or if you check out this, it kind of
it could have been cooler if they did this, or it kind of takes away from this for this reason. You'd be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, right, exactly, and try and bring
maybe they do. I don't know.
Side.
We're looking at just tweets, so
and convince them that that you're why you're saying this instead of just saying it and like bringing this hatred into it. Like it's sort of it gets a little brutal and a little like I don't know, harsh.
I just remember watching New Hope for the first time and thinking about the economics of the Death Star. Right. And like what
it would cost, right?
Right. It would cost the mining, the shipping, the amount of energy, right, that would like need to do it. It must not have been the first time. I saw it when I was a kid. So I must have watched it when I was like in high school or something. And then I made the decision. I was like, you know what? It's fucking fun to watch. I don't care how they're fucking building a Death Star. It's just cool that they are. And I feel like that's what's lost. Like that's why the originals and everything works so well was you suspend your disbelief. You just fucking enjoy it. And I'm not saying the writing's good or bad. I haven't even seen this. So this isn't even like taking a side. It's just you hear I'm listening to your guys' conversations talking about what other people are saying. I'm like, all right, just fucking suspend your disbelief about getting stabbed by a lightsaber, because nobody fucking knows what happens when you get stabbed by a lightsaber, because nobody's ever been fucking stabbed by a lightsaber. Like it's fine,
right? But if everybody that you've ever seen get stabbed with a lightsaber, the same thing happens. Maybe it's later technology, I guess.
I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not like one of these hardcore fans, but I don't think getting stabbed by lightsabers is a super common thing in the movies.
Not like through the thing. It wasn't until I think the shows that you really saw people get like impaled with one.
Right. Usually in the movies, it's fucking, you get sliced and your body disappears and the fucking robe
like
floats down to the ground.
Gets like sliced in half and then like falls down the vent, the shaft.
Yeah, all the robots get cut in half.
Right. So I don't know. I was just
this was the short segment.
There was some good things and some bad things in it. I think it'll still be interesting.
I think he's waiting for me to change the slide.
Who the hell this guy is and what his deal is and where he came from and why he is saying that he's a Sith. I did like people were ripping on his speech. I think Tim, when you watch it, his speech is kind of cool because he's like, it brings into focus sort of the Jedi, like Kev said. I don't know about being the weakest, but it's interesting when you start breaking down like their philosophy and their belief, right? And how it almost feels like it's always about like their way is the right way. And like, you can't have any of these emotions and any of this other shit. And then he's like, I want to use the Force my way. Like, I want to be able to do the things I want to do with the Force. Cool. And I guess you would call me a Sith because I want to use these powers sometimes for evil. Sometimes I do these other things, sometimes for this. And you don't allow that. So kind of screw you. I want to do, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like his speech kind of hit me. And I was like, well, I mean, it's kind of like being a revolutionary or something, right? Like you're like, don't tell me how to live my life with these powers.
See, now I'm torn, T, because I'm going to go back and side with the neckbeard mafia. Like one of the nice things I liked about Star Wars was the black and whiteness of it, right? Was like the evil empire, the good rebels. Right. And now like Disney or whoever is trying to make it all gray, which normally I appreciate. But so I don't know. I'm split. I'm like, it's good. I feel like that's a good thing generally to do, but I'm like, I kind of like Star Wars being good versus evil and fucking light and dark.
You had a clear cut thing. The Empire was bad. The rebels were good. You had these Jedi.
Nothing is clear cut anymore. I watch all these shows with my daughter, like all the kid shows. There's no more good guy, bad guy. There's no cops and robbers or
exactly cowboys and Indians,
cowboys and Native American.
Exactly, like it's all changed so much. It's all a gray area, and it's so true. Like you don't know.
Which is more akin to reality, and actually, I think makes better human beings probably.
Yeah, but it's hard to watch.
Sympathize, but it is less. It's harder to be good content.
It's
good.
Even kind of like
you watch a cowboy battle, right? You watch a cowboy movie these days. In olden times, you had the white hats and you had the black hats, and you knew who you were rooting for. Now you don't have that. And you're like, who's? Well,
Well, it's the anti-heroes are also heroes, you know. It's like we talk about, like with the Shield, like he kills a cop in the first episode and is supposed to be a bad guy, but he's the guy you root for 8 seasons. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's kind of like where the world is too. Like it used to be USA, Russia, Russians were or USSR, the Soviet Unions, they were bad.
Well, Putin's pretty bad. I mean, I don't want to get into
Right.
international
But
politics,
now,
but
but
that's pretty clear
nowadays
cut.
there's such a gray space in there, especially in a certain party that's like, oh, Russia's not so bad. Oh, they're not. And you're like, God, man, in social studies, it used to be good, bad. Cold War was awful. Like they could nuke us at any time. It's just, it's changed. So, and even George Lucas talks about that. He's like, well, when I wrote it, it was sort of in that vein of like the evil empire. Empire was Russia. Rebels were sort of, you know, like it was sort of always that way. And even going back and like, the Revolutionary War, it was us against the Britons, and we were the good guys, so to speak. You know what I mean? It was always you always kind of had that feeling, and now
Or the English.
The English, same thing, British.
My solution, I want to get off Star Wars in a minute because we have a lot of other cool shit to talk about. My solution was keep the movies not black versus white. God, I'm gonna get canceled, but you know what I mean, like light and dark, and like you know, the dichotomy, and then explore these gray issues in the shows and shit. And if you don't like the shows, fine, fucking don't watch it. Who cares? But I do think if like the new trilogy or the next set of movies, like they should keep to like the, you know, the fundamentals.
I'm interested in Mangold's Jedi movie. I think that'll be good because he always does cool shit, just like Logan again. Like we talked,
he's going way back, right?
Yeah, he's going way back. So I think that'll be cool. I'm a little apprehensive about the new trilogy with Rey and stuff. We'll see how that comes out. But like I said, I thought this was kind of a cool. Again, like you're getting a lot of, I don't want to say anti-Jedi, but different sides of the Jedi, and they're not like
Jedi
as awesome as you used to think they were. Like Skywalker and Obi-Wan, you were like, oh, these are obviously the awesome guys, and Darth Vader's the bad side of the Force, and blah blah blah. And now you're sort of like, oh, well, maybe the Sith are onto something here. Maybe it was a good point and want to use the Force the way you want to use it and shit. So I don't know, but we can move on. I just want to say it's if nothing else, the show is extremely polarizing, and you know they always say bad advertisement, bad whatever is just as good advertisement. So if anything, it's doing a great job of completely pitting people against
each other. What's a great example of that, and it's not what's on here, is The Boys. I fell off of that show, but because there's so much argument about it online, I haven't had a lot of time, but I can't wait to go back and watch this latest season because it's like just seeing like half the people be like, oh, it's fucking incredible. And half the people be like, oh, that's really lost. I'm like, now I want to see it. I'm like,
well, yeah, the half of the people that realize they're making fun of them the whole time are now pissed and are like, what do you mean this show's not leaning right? And yeah, it's pretty funny. So we'll see.
I met somebody that thought Colbert was legit once.
The what?
I was like, Colbert, you remember that show? Like they thought it was like he was like legit, like, you know what I mean, like authentic. Anyway,
but you can't watch it anymore.
We'll see what happens next week. I'm sure we'll review it again. I mean, I hate doing weekly shows. You guys
we gotta
move
on.
I'm a binger. I like binging, so I wish the whole thing would come out at once. I hate doing it week by week. Like it drives me crazy. So, but we'll see what happens. We'll see where we go with it.
Yeah.
Inside Out 2, destroying the box office.
Have either of you guys seen it? Actually,
no. I want
to. It is very, and I'm trying not to exaggerate, but I can't think of the last time I saw a movie that I enjoyed as much as I saw. It's been a year or two. Like, I think this movie fucking nailed it. And I realized when I was watching it, the thing about it was that it's not overly complicated, but it's like really well written. It has a lot of depth, but it's like so many movies now. We were just talking about that, right? With like the gray area. It's like, I'm not sure. Like this is very, you know what I mean? Like it's simple, but beautiful. I don't want to, I mean, we're not going to review it. You guys talked about it last week. I'm just going to say this is a well-deserved Billy. And I can't believe it got there already. It had to have broken some records, right? What is it?
Yeah.
Week 3?
Yeah. I mean, they anticipated it hitting $1 billion by this Sunday, and it got there before the weekend. So, I mean, it's just shattering expectations in the box office. It's really, again, I think a lot of it, Kevin and I talked about last week, kids, it's repeat viewers, it's hot summer, like take your air conditioning, and to your point, Tim, it's good. So I think that on top of everything allows
it's
it to be
too, because like for like my 5-year-old, it's just colorful, zany characters doing silly shit, right? I didn't go with the teenager, but imagine if you're a teenager. So I'm not gonna do spoilers, but it's like about a girl that's going through puberty and what her mind is doing. So if you're a teenager, you can like relate to it. But then as a parent, it's like really fucking funny because they have a lot of like inside jokes and like parent jokes from the parents' perspective, and it's also nostalgic because you can remember you being in high school and in those social situations. You can think about your kids going through it, and then it's just again, well written, funny but not too funny.
I think that's the biggest key, especially with what made Pixar so good for so long, was it works on so many levels. It works for young kids with, like you said, with the animation and just being zany and fun. It works on the mid level of like, oh, I'm going through this, or I've been there, or whatever. And then it works for adults who are the ones taking the kids, who like get some of the inside jokes and some of the other storylines in there that the kids go right over their heads. So it works on multiple levels. So it's enjoyable to see it 2 times, 3 times with your kids and repeat it and stuff. So I'm glad Pixar's back. I'm glad it's doing so well. I'm glad for the box office, like we said, with Bad Boys 2 a couple weeks ago, and now this. It's great. This weekend we have A Quiet Place, the first prequel to A Quiet Place coming out, and Kevin Costner's new Horizon comes out this weekend. So we'll see.
I can't imagine that doing super well.
It's gonna
I think
tank.
it'll do.
It's gonna tank.
I think it'll do okay. I think there's an audience for it.
No one wants to see Kevin Costner anymore. No one believes his ass.
Paramount, are you kidding? The Yellowstone show was dominated for so long. Like, it was fantastic. So there is an audience.
Isn't it like super long though? Isn't it like a 3-hour?
It's 3 hours and it's part 1. So
you have to bring a pack of lunch.
So you'll definitely go through a couple cards of popcorn and be prepared for like an ending that you have to come back for and see the next one. So we'll see, but
no, it's not happening. We will not be covering that, or at least I will not be.
Do you know what the first blockbuster weekend movie ever was? What they say the first was? A certain Batman movie that was released 35 years ago.
35 years ago. Oh my God.
I was a senior in high school when it came out, or I had just graduated high school, which just boggles my mind to think that, because it seems like it was yesterday to me still.
I can't believe 35 years. I saw it, I think 4 or 5 times, like the first, when it was out. Like I was there opening night. I was there like the next day after opening night. I went to the theater a couple days later because they were giving away posters for it to see it again. I saw it so many times. Like Kev froze in the perfect position. I saw it so many times. Like I was a little confused by it because it really wasn't the Batman I was expecting to see, because it was a Tim Burton version of it. But God, it was so.
It holds up so well, though.
It does, and Michael Keaton is still my Batman. Like, he's still my favorite. And I love that he still does the line. I love that he came back in The Flash and kind of wrapped up that role. Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Come on. I mean, it was so good. Like Kim Basinger in it, Jerry Hall in it. Like, it was fantastic. Prince did the soundtrack. It had a different.
The music is probably the most underrated. You know what I mean? Nobody talks about it, but that fucking was one of the best soundtracks of any movie.
That soundtrack was so great. Like, all of his songs, and it was so different than like what you were used to. Because even coming out of that was still the Adam West version. You know, like that was still sort of the latest Batman that you were used to, with the zap and the pow and the ding and the sort of silly comedies to it and the tights and I watch that show all the time too. But so this was sort of the first real iteration of kind of mixing the Dark Knight with the Batman type character and doing that. And I mean, it was so good. Like 35 years, that was amazing. Like, that's crazy.
Speaking of Batman, are you excited about this animated series?
I am. I love that it's
I didn't realize that it was developed for HBO.
Yeah, originally.
And then picked up by
Amazon. And it's J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves. And Matt Reeves is great.
Nails. Yeah, like the Batman. I used to love J.J. Abrams. Like, I was in the whole Star Trek build up to hype, and then he has the same thing as Taika Waititi. He's like everybody's sweetheart, and then fucks up a movie that we all love, and then But I'm excited. I think that's a good pairing. I think they will.
Yeah. And I think that JJ does better with sort of smaller things, like Alias and like smaller screen, maybe even TV and those kind of things. Because, like, to your point, Tim, even his TED talk that he gave that time, he talked about the magic box, and people don't want to see what's inside the magic box, which I always found to be complete bullshit. Like, people do want to see what's in the magic box. Like, you can't keep it from them. Like, you can tease it for a while, but you have to eventually let them know what's in there. Like, you can't just
what's in the box.
You can't just be like, oh, nothing's in the box. Like, sorry,
Open the box.
You have to show them. So that always annoyed me that was sort of his style. And I think it caught up to him with the Star Wars movies and things. So Star Trek, when he redid that, the first one anyway, was great. They kind of fell off.
Fantastic.
After
you know
that,
what happened though? Well, you know what happened when Pandora yelled open the box?
Yes, Kev, but that's a different box altogether. But I think JJ had something magical for a while, like Cloverfield and like some of those things that he did, especially with the beginning of like social media where it was at. And even, I mean, he did Lost, the first, did the pilot for Lost and then handed it off. So he did have a good run. Again, TV, I always felt like was his stronger suit though than getting into.
Why is DC so much better in the animated realm? I feel like.
I don't know.
I think it's because they take advantage of animation. I feel like Marvel's just figuring this out with 97, but it's two things. I feel like animation in the Western world hasn't been fully adopted and appreciated the same way it has in the East, and it's starting to. But DC definitely leans into it. I'm hoping so. Like Marvel has like the Wakanda show and zombies and the Spider-Man show. I hope they fucking learn that lesson too. But yeah, you're right. I think it's because the medium of animation works insanely well with comic stories. You could do so much with it.
I agree. And Kev, I think we kind of touched on that last week too when we talked about that. Like, animation lends itself so much easier to the comic because comic is animated already, and as you flip the pages, it's almost like you're animating your own kind of story. So to take that and put that on the screen, it just makes sense. And then you can do more with it once it's on the screen with sort of building those characters and the world around it. So I think it works really well. And DC's definitely just sort of embraced that, which is funny because they're better with animation, not so great with their movies and building that universe. Marvel's great with building the universe in the MCU.
What are they doing? What are they doing with, we have Batman, we have Penguin, that's a complete separate thing. Now we have Superman, and oh, wait a minute, let's do Green Lantern, which is where you should have scrapped everything and started in the first place.
Well, I think it's starting to tie in, like we talked about last time. Like the Batman movies with Matt Reeves and this Penguin show are their own universe.
Why? Yeah. Why did you bring James Gunn in and say we're starting over from scratch?
Well, you know why? Because it's successful. That's why. And honestly, that doesn't bother me. You are just looking at the example of the MCU and it's like hit perfection, which is a thing. But like in comics, you could have multiple runs going with characters. Like that's happened. Like there's a precedent for that. And I think we're all smart enough to be like, this is the DCU Batman and this is the Elseworld Batman. Right. The part that kind of bugs me is like when he picked and choose like the Suicide Squad or like his wife. He's like, that I'm like, make the entire thing Elseworld or the entire thing like show or movie DCU. When he's starting to pick and choose characters, that's a little shitty. But
and I
don't know. Okay. I'm fucking pumped about the DCU. I'm actually thinking things are coming together nicely.
Finally, I know, finally. And I think it's okay because just like with Batman, we have 10 different versions of Batman. Like you have the Michael Keaton, you have the Dark Knight trilogy with Christian Bale.
I wish they built the DCU off of that originally. Like if they had thought of that originally,
I know it would have been really interesting. But I don't think.
Could you imagine? Well, he died, so no. But like, you know how like Loki was like the villain through the first phase of the MCU.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a Heath Ledger Joker as the first villain that tied in Batman and Superman and Green Lantern? That would have been so.
That would have been so great. I know. And then even to that point, like doing the side Joker movies on their own, they're in its own thing. You know what I mean? They'll never really connect, I don't think, to anything. At least they have said they're not. But it'd be cool if those did somehow too. So
Joker 2 is like one of those movies that I'm like really trying to stay positive about, but I'm like the whole premise is like
I don't think I saw the first one.
Oh, really? It's good.
I don't think I have.
Good. But again, that goes back to like we talked about last week, building out the villain, right? Like it did such a good job of building out the villain. Why not? They should have started with the Legion of Doom again and like built out the Lex Luthors and like thing and built that and then come in with like the heroes and stuff still.
But then I think about Sony and how they fucked up
the
Spider-Verse. Like you could do that, but just starting with villains alone doesn't make it good. Like You know what I mean? Like you still have to have good
well,
movies.
right. You have to introduce them, but it would be, I mean, you already had so many runs of it. I think part of the thing too with bringing Gunn in, Kev, was they wanted to get away from like the Snyderverse. It was so too decisive, and you can't have 2 movies every time, right? Like what he likes to do. You can't constantly bring in
undermine yourself, basically. Undermine the studio by saying, well, that's not really how
right. Exactly. So our first set looks, speaking of Superman, we got our first set. Well, not our first, but more set picks from
better set picks. I wish this was the first one.
Yeah, better set picks from shooting on location in Cleveland, Ohio. Woohoo, Cleveland rocks. So got a better shot of the suit. He is wearing the underwear. He does have the S on the back of the cape as well, which were 2 of the big questions people were wondering about. Would it be the suit's a little, I don't know. I'm not quite sold on it. We'll see how it looks like once he's really in it. The picture,
a little Chris Reeves.
Got a lot of lines going on
that.
it. I'm not completely sold on the S on it either. The S is very,
S is weird.
It's weird, right? Like it's a weird S. It looks like just a line. Like
they had in the aughts, I think, or maybe like the 2000 teens, they had a Superman run that looked like that. But
yeah, which I think is what he was copying. But still, and then Mr. Terrific.
I love the colors though. I like the Reeves part of it. I like that it doesn't have fucking abs. I like, honestly, that whole weird thing of like putting abs in the uniform.
Yeah,
for Superman or any of them. It's like, I don't know, like the ab plate is a weird part of the costume.
The nipples in the George Clooney Batman.
Dude, the George Clooney Batman is the most like that is if you watch that now, you're talking about how well the Burton one, that George Clooney Batman looks like an SNL skit. Like it does not. It looks like a spoof of itself. It is the most absurd.
Well, it kind of. I mean, that one is so full of like. It's got what's his name is Robin and Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl. There's so much going on in that one too. Like it's just craziness. But
there's part of me that likes it though, and like not in like it's a quality movie, but
right,
like,
as in like one of those bad like showgirl. You get to bring it's so bad you like to rewatch it.
Right, you brought in all the characters finally too. You were like, cool, we're going to throw them all in
there.
Was that the one with Freeze and Ivy?
I think so.
And Bane. They had fucking like everybody in it. That was awesome. I mean, there was a lot of cool shit. It just was not well executed.
No, a lot of those were. You had Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face in one of them, and like, that was
the Riddler. What's his name? Jim Carrey.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I mean, things seem to be leaning properly with this. Mr. Terrific looks badass in that. Like, I think he looks cool. It kind of has that sort of 70s look on him. I don't know. The set pictures look cool. There was a few of them that came out, so it's exciting.
I'm hoping that the DCU Batman goes this route and has like the gray suit with the black trunks, and like they keep it from that same and everything kind of works in universe. And that's why I actually think the Elseworld works, Kev, is because I love the dark, gritty Reeves Batman. I want to see that, but I would have a hard time melding that with this Superman. And I'm interested to see what Gunn does with Superman. So like I think it's cool. Like if you try to make another dark, gritty Batman and mix it with this Superman in addition to the Reeves, I think it'll be too much and won't work. But if they like, you know what, the uniform, I can't bring a picture, but you know the one I'm talking about, where it's like the gray, and then it has the black trunks and like
the Adam West.
No,
well, but like the modern version of the Adam West, right. The modern Adam West, the modern Reeves. Like I think that would be a cool way to go into the DCU. I would really.
So are we going to have a modern? Which modern Green Lanterns are we getting?
That will be interesting to see.
Do. That's so complicated.
I know,
but that's going to be part of the DCU, right?
Yeah. Well, this is supposed to be the start of Gunn's real DCU. Like this is supposed to be the main tie-in where Superman's going and like all this stuff. Because I think it's coming out even before it. It's 8 episodes. I know that. Damon Lindelof is doing it with Tom King, which I think will be cool. Like 2 good TV guys again. Like Damon kind of was up and down for a while there, but after Watchmen, I feel like he's like really found his groove again. So hopefully, this has that feel to it more than some of his other things. But I think it'll be really cool. According to the log line, It's got, new recruits Stewart and Lantern legend Jordan are two intergalactic cops drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American heartland. So
Yeah,
it
the whole
almost
True
sounds.
Detective feel to it.
It does. It almost has a little noir detective feel to it, which I think is pretty badass. Like, could be really cool. So, I think, and they say as a part of James and Peter's vision for the DC universe, this first new live action series will mark an exciting new era. So this is sort of what he's building around. I don't know. I'm very hopeful for it. I'm very high on it. I think it's got to be better than the Ryan Reynolds movie they did in 2011.
Yeah. Who's going to be our bad guy? You think?
I don't know. I mean, whatever the murder they're investigating will lead us to, which hopefully
the Heartland says to me, Superman on some level. Like Superman is where he was in the Heartland, is where he grew up, Clark Kent. So
I'm hoping it's one of those sort of villain introduction things too, where we start to get that, that building of the big bad is in here somewhere, and like maybe doesn't get introduced, or it does at the end, and that leads into the movie, or like something like that. So it's exciting. I mean, I think it'll be really cool. 8 episodes is good.
You get a pass, James Gunn, for the time being.
Well, I mean, so far with the new look at Superman, with the Lanterns announcement, with the animated Batman, like I haven't been excited about the DC in like a really long time. So
Since
and
Flash,
honestly,
I was excited for Flash, even though it got trash.
Yeah, I was right. I was so good though. I mean, it was good.
I was so far beyond excited for that. Like not excited. I was so lost on. At that point I could not give a flying fuck about the DC.
And that was its biggest problem, because it was by far probably the best DCU movie, but everybody was so over it by then that it just got crap, which is how it always works, right? Like you're like, oh, I'm fucking done with it, and then you're like, oh, but this is the best thing they've done. Great. So it kind of sucks. But I think, Tim, to your point, not only is it exciting, but they're doing a good job of embracing the small screen, like doing this Lantern series as a show, doing the Matt Reeves
showrunners, not doing the Disney mistake. This time they were smart. They let Disney fuck up,
right?
And then they were like, okay, this is how we're gonna do
it. This is how we're gonna do it. And I'm impressed they're still bringing like that Penguin show on in the Batman side of things, because that is such an interesting, like I'm a big villain person, so for me, I think
best
it's
villains.
fantastic.
Batman has all the best villains.
He does.
Well, that's why Gotham was such a great fucking show.
Oh my
I
God,
love that
yeah.
show. I wish that tied into something. That would have been cool too. That
Totally.
Joker, there's been so many good Jokers. I was thinking about that when you said yeah, no, before that, but yeah, fucking Nicholson and Heath Ledger and fucking Joaquin and that redhead kid.
Oh yeah,
they're all fucking good.
They're all good. And Joker was always
Mark Romero.
Yeah,
Mark
exactly. Going all the way back to the day. I mean, it was such a great comic character too. Like just the craziness, like the flip side of Batman always, and like he's such a great nemesis, right? Like, I mean, he's great. And to your point, the actors that have portrayed him have all been so good in bringing that out and bringing that character
in different ways too. They're all unique portrayals of him.
Completely. And I mean, you can talk about it all day long. It's super sad that, Heath Ledger passed away, but that character, what he built with that character,
the Joker,
who knows where it could have gone, like what it could have been.
Oh, you know who fucked it up? I was gonna say there's not been a bad Joker, but Leto was a terrible fucking Joker.
Yeah.
Wait, was that the DCU's?
Yeah, it was Suicide Squad, and then it was at the end of the Batman.
The Harley Quinn movie, wasn't he in the Harley Quinn movie?
See, that was the problem. They fucked it up.
Yeah.
They literally the easiest character to nail. Like, I don't want to say it's easy, but like based on like anecdotal, like on evidence, there's like 9 out of 10 have been great, and then
there's so much of a mystery. There's so much of a mystery to the Joker that it's very malleable. Anybody can find their spot in it.
They tried to make him too cool, though. I think that was the same problem with the Fantastic Four. Those movies, they got away from like the familyness and like the essence of the character, and they tried to make them cool. You watch the recent Fantastic Four movies, not like the one with what's her face, fuck, I'm losing names.
Jessica Alba.
Yeah, not Jessica Alba, but the ones after that, they like made them look all like spacey, cool, and I'm like, that's not the fucking Fantastic Four.
Well,
you need
let
like
me ask you
nerdy
this.
motherfuckers.
What are we doing with Peacemaker? Because they're still releasing that too.
That's what I was talking about. The shit that bothered me was where he picked and choose. But
well,
who cares?
That's
it's such an inconsequential
thing too. Like he's just doing that as his own thing too, and will be released for season 2 as its own show. That I don't think. Who knows? Maybe since he did that and stuff, he can tie it in eventually. But I think for now, it's just its own side project type thing. Which again, muddles
everything we said we were going to do, we're not really doing. But Green Lantern's going to nail it, guys. So just hang with us.
Exactly.
DC update.
I mean, his original announcement is still holding true. We knew it was going to be messy as fuck, right? Like he said that, and he like if you guys remember, what was it? The fucking Chuck movie, Shazam. He was like, this is kind, and then the Blue Beetle is like, this is kind of, and then
even Black Adam,
and Black Adam, and
Black Adam too.
The reality was they couldn't shit on those movies until they were out because they were too far. They were pot committed, but Superman Legacy and Lanterns were going to be there's some other animated show that I'm not super caught up on,
but those are going to be the DCU.
That's when you should. I think that's when you judge the DCU.
Yeah,
right. Like I'm not going to judge the DCU on fucking the Blue Beetle, although that movie was really good too. So
Blue Beetle's going to be a cartoon, and
they're doing the cartoon.
Better.
Yeah, they're making it into a cartoon, which will continue the story from that. So we'll see how it all sort of fits in there. But to your point, Tim, comic books there's a million different versions and worlds and things going on in them. So granted, we like things, especially in cinema, to be this is in this world, this is in this world, this takes place with this. But I think it just sort of matches comic books in the point that like there's a million different Batmans, there's a million different stories, there's a million different ways to do these things. And sometimes
Fantastic Four is messy too, though. Fantastic Four is a messy one.
Sometimes it's fun just to have standalone stories and different stories of things that just sort of, are its own story and its own sort of run of a comic book, like its own.
As a fan, I crave continuity across multiple properties.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that's what we want, but sometimes it's not there.
Well, that's what's nice about the multiverse saga, the good part. Now, granted, I think they fucked it up royally, but the one good thing is that they're going to be able to bring continuity to the Spider-Verse with like Tobey Maguire. Well, they already did the X-Men and all these other like the Fantastic, and that's cool. I think this is a side note, but I think I was thinking about this the other day. The fucking biggest mistake Marvel did, they made a lot of mistakes. The biggest mistake was doing the timey-wimey shit and the timeline shit with the multiverse shit. It was too much. If they had just done multiverse where it was separate universes but had nothing to do with the timelines, it would have read so much better and people could get behind it.
Yeah.
It's the timeline shit complicated because are all those timelines in one universe? And does every universe have multiple time? Like it gets so messy, even for people like us that like fucking like religiously consume it. If you're a casual fan, you have no idea what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, the timeline, the TVA and the timeline thing completely confuses things.
I'm hoping Deadpool cleans it all up and just like nicks out shit that doesn't work. And because they are doing the TVA thing, so I'm hoping it's just like fucking nailed it. But
yeah, and I think I'm excited we can move into the Marvel things now. The Fantastic Four, Feige announced that it is a period piece. It takes place in the 60s, and it does take place in an alternate universe than everything else has been in already. So there's sort of your multiverse saga too, Tim, is it's like on its different world, which is again setting up Secret Wars and all of this other stuff to come. But I think the period of it is going to be a lot of fun. I think that will be very cool.
Yeah. Is it going to be the Fantastic Four from the 2015, I guess, Secret World, where they're building the spaceship and they have their whole family with kids? And
yeah. You're talking about the Jonathan Hickman Fantastic Four before Secret Wars. I think it's going to take influences from that.
Yeah.
Because they announced, I don't know if it's been announced or leaked. So all of this but like what I understand is Franklin, I don't know if Valerie, the sister's going to be in it, but Franklin's going to be in it. And I expect the Council of Reeds is going to become a thing and Galactus. And those are all great signs, right? Like I love that shit. That's what I was saying about like the too cool young Fantastic Four. That's not the good Fantastic Four. The family, like fucking, that is like the good shit. I like the Maker too. I've been reading those Ultimate comics.
And we're going to get She-Hulk eventually into this Fantastic Four franchise, or she's in the wrong universe?
No. Well, they'll be in the same universe, but they're not going to change the members up.
Yeah, I don't.
But eventually, She-Hulk became part of Fantastic Four.
I know. I understand why you brought this up. You were trying to show off your tidbit, but
no, I'm not trying. I'm just thinking, how do you? We were talking one week about how She-Hulk might be more than it appeared to be in the series itself.
Yeah, I mean,
she's popped up again in places too. Like they've brought that back as sort of like bread. So I don't know if they're
not going to fuck
it
with the Fantastic Four though. There's
no
way.
No,
like,
I
understand
so.
There's a precedent,
not in this movie.
but like
no,
this is Kevin Feige's baby. Like this is I mean, honestly, it's the first family of fucking Marvel. Like it is. So, but like, and She-Hulk has all sorts of connections. They could tie her in with Deadpool and the breaking the fourth wall. They could tie her in with fucking Mark Ruffalo and those, and like a World War Hulk story would be cool.
Well, and the other
fucking being a lawyer thing,
the other Hulk, Red Hulk or whatever,
right? Red Hulk, Captain America,
yeah,
or fucking Daredevil with the law, like, and she's just a very versatile, cool character. It's a shame that show didn't do better.
That is where that was one thing I read an interview with, was they asked her about the Daredevil relationship, and she was like, "Oh, you never know, like, you know, we were together and that could come back." So you could see her in that series too. Like, so there is,
but they're not going to make her a fit in the Fantastic Four, because that would replace Johnny Storm, and there's no fucking way they're replacing Johnny Storm. There's no way. Not for
I thought she replaced Ben.
Oh wait, yeah. The robot replaced Johnny Storm.
Right.
I like the guy that was playing Ben. They asked him how he's been preparing for his role, and he's said, "I've just been studying rocks."
What do you mean? He's fucking not you, but the guys that asked that question. He is literally typecast. He's a Jewish guy from Brooklyn with an attitude, with a chip on his shoulder. He's like, be yourself, bro. Be like the guy from The Bear. Like, literally, you are perfect for that role.
Yep. Yeah.
The only one that I can't see, but I'm more than willing to like, is what's his face? God damn, my name's today. I apologize.
I know. You're really drawing blanks.
This guy.
Who? Pedro?
Yeah, Pedro. Pedro is the one that I feel like I'm gonna have a little bit of difficulty, because I see him as like, I still see him as Game of Thrones and Mando and like
Last of Us.
Yeah, right. Like it's gonna, but he's such a good actor. Like, and I've said this about him on previous roles, right? Like Game of Thrones was such a like imprint on my mind. Like I thought after I saw this, like I'll never be able to see him as anything else. And then I was like, he really filled the other roles. So I can't see it yet, but I have confidence that he'll be able to nail it once we do see it.
I think
like the other ones are perfect casting.
I think he'll crush it just because he's such a versatile actor that he can do so many different things that I think we'll immediately buy into him, because he's just that good of an actor. Like that's my hope anyway. So
I'm willing to extend until Fantastic Four. Like they could fuck up movies until then, and that's where like my rope goes. Right? If they fuck that movie up, I think I might need to take a break.
What do we have next?
Deadpool. Like that's I'm so excited.
Deadpool's gonna fucking nail
like
it.
That's
it's
just
already breaking records.
Yeah, it's gonna be so good. Like I can't wait. So
wait, Kev, did you mean what topic do we have next, or what movie do we have next?
No, I was just what Marvel movie was next in this series?
Yeah, I mean they have the big ones they have left that have been announced are they got Thunderbolts, they got Captain America. I think it's Captain America and then Thunderbolts. I don't know. And then Deadpool's the next one up.
When do we get more TV?
October we get Agatha, whatever the latest iteration of that is.
Which how does that fit? All right, that's a whole nother day.
Yeah, that once that starts coming, we'll get more into that. But it's going to tie into. I just read something because the director just was talking about the last, I think, 3 episodes that she directed, or last 2 episodes, or something like that, and how it ties into what's coming and stuff like that. So it will have its set up for what's to come as well. So.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
One last thing. I don't know if you guys wanted to talk about it or not.
Oh, yeah. Video game.
I saw this on the Nintendo Direct, and then I guess it's on all the systems. I was like, fuck yeah. I mean, these games have come out, like 5 or 6 different times, but it's going to be really nice to have them all together.
Yeah, it's all one game, which is cool.
Yeah, I fucking love Capcom and Street Fighter, the style and the characters, and I love Marvel, obviously. So fucking let's go. It's gonna be awesome.
It's got everybody in it. Like when you watch that trailer, it's a 3.5 minute trailer, and it like has everybody though. It's like old X-Men, new X-Men, old Marvel, new Marvel, old
Rogue,
Fighter,
old Rogue, new Rogue.
Like against each other, against other things, against like you're like, holy shit, this game's got everything. Like I'm totally in. It looks so much fun. Like just everything.
Yeah,
you gotta love that. It's fantastic.
We also threw the ComiCon was happening in the title, so.
Oh yeah, we did say that Marvel is going back to ComiCon this year, which I think that's what I was going to say when you guys were talking about what's next and some of these things. I think some of the big announcements will come from that.
They're all the Fantastic Four are all going to be there, right?
I'm sure.
Did they say all of them? And Feige's going to be there.
Feige will be there. I'm sure there'll be.
What the fuck?
I'm sure there will be some big announcements and some tie-in things and some roadmaps of stuff. So it's super exciting.
She-Hulk's going to show up and it's going to blow all your minds.
I think it's so cool though. Comic-Con's back. Like I'd love to go check it out. I think that's fucking awesome. Like, considering they do D23 and do their own things these days, it's harder to get them to get everybody to be excited about Comic-Con, but I think it's exciting that they're back and doing it in the hall again and stuff. So yay. And we'll have a lot to talk about from that. I
want to get Shang-Chi 2, Thor 5, Doctor Strange 3. Those are the 3 sequels that I think we're going to get. But then I also think we're going to get clarification on Avengers 5, right? Because it's not Kang Dynasty anymore. So I think we're going to get that. But what I really fucking want, one of 2 things, and this is a long shot, is World War Hulk, like they fucking announced it, or X-Men versus Avengers versus X-Men. If they announce one of those 2 things, all else gets thrown out the window. It's fucking on. If it's like, oh, we're
that's all you want.
That's it. That's all I want.
I want more Daredevil stuff.
They did say Thor 5.
An 18-episode season coming. Like, what the fuck, Kevin? Just wait a minute. That's already been announced.
And they did say Thor 5 will be after Secret Wars. They did say that already.
They probably won't announce that. Maybe give a Blade update. That'd be cool.
They're gonna add like phases. Before you know it, they're gonna be like Phase 12 will be in 2032.
No, I don't see them announcing shit after Secret Wars yet.
They did talk about Blade again was in the news. Mia Goth came out and said, because she's in it, that she's still very excited about it and that it just really feels like they're really trying to get it right. And that's why it's taking so long.
They're better now.
And I did
speak for it's a complete mess.
That in Deadpool and Wolverine, Wesley Snipes,
yeah,
to make an appearance as his Blade. So
that's gonna be.
I mean, that movie's gonna have so much crazy, like, oh my god, that's like you're just gonna be going. I think you're gonna have to see it a couple times to get everything out of it. I think it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
So excited about it. So
all right, I'm gonna roll
credits. That was fun. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week when we do more Acolyte talk and everything else in the world of pop culture and comics.
Later, guys.
See ya.